What's up, guys? Welcome to another big show. It's World of Reds, of course. I am going to be, at some point, joined by 8 Reds, but at the moment, just 7 of us here chatting, having the final word on West Brom. We're going to be chatting a bit about the positives we can take from yesterday's game, if, of course, there are any. As we are all fans, we only can say what we see, so it's down to the lads what they decide to say themselves. And also on top of that, we're going to jump in a little bit about win versus performance. We're going to have a little debate around what is more important to a football fan now. Has it changed through the generations? Did it used to just be all about just getting the 3 points? Doesn't matter how you get it, broken legs, limbs, it just doesn't matter. Or now is it about the fact that you need to win with performances? What is the bigger picture? What is the smaller picture? We're going to jump into that debate a little bit later on. Thank you for you guys for watching. If you're not on our YouTube yet, youtube.com/allforunited. Come over, watch over there, get in the live chat, get involved with everything that we say. Right, looking at the screen in front of me, guys, as ever, we're going to go to the first person to my right or left or whatever that is on here, mirrored, whatever. And Connor, it's you tonight, mate. Thank you for joining us. It's good to have you back on. Just a couple of minutes, first of all, your final thoughts on the win yesterday against West Brom to kick us off.
I mean, you've got to be happy with a win, I guess. It wasn't the best performance, but you've come to expect that over the last 7 to 8 years, and even under the Fergie era, you know, we didn't always play amazing football when we won games. Contrary to what a lot of people were saying on Twitter, I actually quite liked the team selection. I think the only slight worry I had was Matarat on that right-hand side. I think that's been an issue for a few years now. We're very left-sided. Obviously, Martial likes to drift out to the left. Rashford's a left-sided player. We've never really had anyone on that right-hand side, and it makes us very easy to defend against, as shown again yesterday. We did create 3 or 4 good opportunities, I thought. Martial's 2 chances probably should have put away, the Rashford chance as well. So although it was 1-0, we did have a few chances in that game. I've seen a lot of people as well saying that maybe Matic and Fred shouldn't have been playing, and Van der Beek, and obviously if a fit Pogba or maybe Fred still in the team shouldn't play him. But our defence struggles on the counter-attack as it is, and we got struggled on the counter-attack yesterday as well. So I think if you play 2 attacking, we're just going to get overrun in the midfield. So I think we needed the win. That was the bottom line. I think if Ollie would have lost yesterday, or United would have lost yesterday, Ollie would have been under absolutely immense pressure again. So we got to be happy with the win, but it wasn't the best performance.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think we've got to be happy with a win. And as you say, we'll come back on to a few points on that. I also think you're right in terms of chances created. We had the chances to potentially put a few more in the net. So again, you know, as much as that could be a negative, the fact that we're not scoring as many goals that maybe we should, is it a positive that we're creating the chances? I mean, we'll come back to that. Oliver, let me come over to you first, mate. Good to see your face as always. Hope the family are well. Your final thoughts on yesterday's win?
Well, I mean, looking at it, you know, on the face of things, Matic and Fred in the midfield, you know, obviously we were saying Fred and McTominay work as a midfield too, and that we don't really need to see Matic and Fred. But if you actually look at the stats from yesterday, I mean, we had sort of 65 possession first half. I think it was probably higher than that in the second. So they obviously came with a plan, you know, try and hit us with pace rather than quality, you know, going through the midfield. So for me, it was quite a good shout, but obviously then, you know, that detracts from us going forward. I think yesterday we definitely saw we miss right wingers, you know, as we just heard. I mean, you know, Martial, he wasn't running the channels well yesterday. When he does, he's a different player. So, you know, I mean, was it a build-up of a few things that sort of took away from a performance that could have been 3-0? You know, it could have been 3-1. Who knows? For me, yeah, it was a little bit stagnant, but this game and the Istanbul game for me were the 2 sort of most important games, you know, anywhere near where we are now, that we needed to get 3 points by any means, and the same against Istanbul on Tuesday. But at some point, you know, it's got to come, you know, we've got to be winning matches and then doing it with style. I think at the minute we've got to settle for just getting 3 points, because, you know, points, goals win games, and points get you up the league. So, yeah, it wasn't brilliant, but it did the job in the end. So, I mean, questioning, you know, is team selection. Mata on the right, when he came inside a bit more centrally, he was a lot more effective. We all know that. Is there something we don't know? I mean, we haven't really got anyone to replace him on the right, but it was just an overload. And then obviously it's easier to cover the left. So hence Rashford going missing as well. I think I'd definitely take that. You don't want to be relying on VAR decisions from, what looked like not the best ref, but luckily it went in our favour. So for me, I'll take the 3 points all day.
All I had in my head then was points mean prizes. I don't know why that's all I had in my head for a moment then. Hello to Jamie who says evening. Hello to Jessica who's on with us. Hi Jessica, hope you're good. Look, Tim's on. You all right, mate? Hope you're good. And also Jacob is in and he's gone on a big rant, which we're going to get through in a minute. Because if you agree with us or disagree with us, we want to hear from you in the live chat because we like to air as many views as we can. So I'm going to get around to some of those. And also we're asking for your positives on yesterday's game. After we've had our final thoughts, we'll get into that. Just quickly, Oliver, in about 60 seconds, you're going to tell me why we should have had a penalty against us yesterday. And I'm going to tell you why we shouldn't. Okay,
so my main point, obviously we discussed this on Twitter, was he tried to do a drag back. If he kicks that ball through his legs and away from danger, then it doesn't matter about the follow through. The fact that he tries to drag it back and then his momentum takes him into him, any good striker is going to take that hit. So I'm not saying it should have definitely been a penalty, but I can understand why it might have been given. So to say that it was a total incorrect decision and reversed by VAR, I think we were a little bit lucky on that. Just because, as I said, if he goes for the ball and kicks it through his legs and away, then that's fair enough. There is obviously going to be a follow through, but it's the fact that he drags back and then still takes the momentum. I think any clever striker is going to take that all day, and I think he did that quite well. Yeah, I'm not a fan of seeing it. I don't really love our players doing it, but games that tight, it is a little bit sort of silly doing the simple things in the box.
Here's where I am at with it. Whenever there's uncertainty over a decision like that, 100% the ref should always go to the pitch side monitor. And I think when you watch that in full speed, when you look at it first time, you can go, oh, yeah, that looked like that was a penalty. But when you go back and have a look, and I think the angles are really deceiving. If you look at it from one side, it looks like Bruno's just wiped out his shin. I think if you look at it from the popper angle, when it's actually close up, Bruno's actually managed to get enough contact on the ball to take it away from the striker. And I think that actually, when it comes round to it, for me, it's all about being in control of the ball. Now, if Bruno had touched that ball and there was enough contact for Bruno to go over, then I would say actually that's probably a penalty because Bruno cannot then run onto that ball to deal with the danger. Whereas Bruno's actually kicked the ball. I can't actually see from the replay if there was that much contact. I can't actually see it. But what I can see is Bruno's on his feet until he trips over the player on the floor, which to me means that Bruno could have run onto that ball and carried on to get the clearance in. So for me, I don't actually think that's a penalty because the striker isn't in control of the ball at that given time. And that's why for me, it's actually not a penalty. And when I was listening to the commentators going off on one, like a murder had just happened, like what planet are you on? It was never a penalty. It was never a Stonewall penalty. And if we're talking about that being a penalty, yet people were going on about the Martial one. Martial went down too easy from the pool. I'm sorry, if someone's grabbing my shirt, that for me is more of a Stonewall penalty than the other one. For me, it's just the uncertainty around what is a penalty kick or not. Again, the handball. For me, he can't do much about that hand. Yet in the laws of the games now, it's a handball.
Well, it's unnatural, isn't it? So
but for me, I don't think that was a penalty, and I actually think it's quite. And you've not said this, Oliver, but obviously we had a joke in 2 and 4 about what it was and wasn't.
If he gets that drag back perfectly, then there's no way that's a penalty. If he rolls around on the floor like Neymar, but it's the fact that he doesn't quite get enough contact, and then there's the follow through contact. So for me, it was more. I can understand why.
Do you know what, Ollie? I'm happy with Callum deciding this argument, and Callum said that Bruno got the ball, so I win. Let's move on. Let's move on. Mike, let me come to you, mate. Mike, it's great to have you on. Can we get your final thoughts, please, from the game against Brom?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, good to be here. Thanks, guys. It was a tough watch. Yeah, the 3 points were needed, but it was really hard to watch. I think the quality was shot on both teams. In front of goal in the final third for United, we wasted so many chances. I think we should be grateful we're making chances. It's progress. But the balance in midfield for me was wrong. I think we started with not much attacking intent. And I really, really expected us to have more kind of supply to Bruno. I could see him cut off. He was drawing deeper to support the play with Fred and Matic. And for me, that was the wrong play against the team that are going to be in the bottom three this year. We should have been more attacking. Where was Donny? What does Donny have to do to get in this first team? We've talked about that no end. But Donny needed to be on that pitch, and I think that was the kind of play for him to kind of make an impact as well. He came on maybe 20 minutes too late if we were going to bring him on at all, but I think Van der Beek would have changed quite a lot for us. It was a strange one because we did have some positives, which we'll come on to in a bit. I thought defence was a lot more solid than it has been recently. There was some good link-up play down the left, although it's still our main supply. Tellez looked good. He linked up with Rashford pretty well on occasion. But I think the midfield for me was where the game could have been so much better. Chances were created. I feel like the players didn't get enough instruction to just shoot whenever they got the chance. There was an opportunity right on the edge of the 18-yard box where it fell to, I think it was Fred, right on his left foot. Perfect for him to just smash it. And he just kind of moved onto his right and played a safe sideways pass. And I was screaming, shoot, Fred, shoot. And it feels like nobody had instruction to do that. So I just think Ollie's missing that extra tactical nous to go, right, we need to adapt our play here against a team like West Brom. And they've caused trouble to quite a few teams in the last few weeks. We know that. They caused us quite a few troubles as well. But I just think if we'd have set up the midfield a little bit differently, we could have made that transition into the final third a lot smoother.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what I think sometimes? And really good points were made there, Mike. What I think sometimes is that Fred looks at his overall play and goes, God, I need to improve. I'm going to watch some really good footballers play football now. And he goes and watches videos of like Michael Carrick, right, before a game and goes, this is how I should play. And one week he's so much that way, like you said, against West Brom, where he played too many sideward passes. He played too many safe passes. Then the next week he'd be so adventurous and we'd be kicking him for giving a ball away 15, 20 times. It's like he goes from one extreme to the other. And I find that balance with Fred hilarious. But he's looking to improve. And I love that about Fred. I think he's an absolute workhorse. Shout out to Miss Tizzy who's on with us. Thank you for being on. Jamie, get those comments out of here. God, I swear you don't disagree with me. And hello to the rest of you. Brendan's in, and there's a few others in as well. Thank you guys for being involved. Make sure you subscribe, by the way, guys. And if you are watching on other platforms, get over to youtube.com/AllForUnited. Get in the live chat. Hit that subscribe button as well, because it would be good to have you involved in the channel. Jamie, let me come over to you, mate. What did you make of the win yesterday?
Yeah, first of all, sorry for I could hear you speaking my name and I was trying to answer, but I had a bit of a malfunction, so sorry about that. Yeah, obviously the lads have nailed it on the head really as to what I was going to say. Definitely seen a little bit of an issue down that right side, but there's been an issue that we're sort of been dealing with for a few years now, ain't it? Hopefully in the next couple of windows we can address that, and maybe Traore coming in January, he might give us a little bit of freshness and idea. I've heard he's a very big talent coming out of Atalanta who are playing some great football. So hopefully he can bring a little bit of energy and a little bit of difference on there as well. But that was obviously noticeable. I think certain games Matta's perfect for, but when you're playing against a low block, as West Brom set up yesterday, we seem to struggle and probably need a little bit more width and more out-and-out winger on that side. But yeah, just what Mike was saying a minute ago there, just before myself, I think Ollie sort of needs to, I think he's in a bit of a catch-22. He's worrying that he's going to get too much stick from the fans if he doesn't play a positive game, but he's also trying to get the results. So he's sort of going with this 4-2-3-1 that he seems to be going with. But I think he's got to sort of change it up for teams like West Brom and maybe put a more creative midfielder in there. I tweeted yesterday saying I sort of would have preferred a more expandable player in there, like a Donny, for example. We're all crying out for him to get in the team, and it's games like that where I feel like he can be sort of blended into the team a little bit more and obviously give us a lot more creativity, because we do struggle with a low block. There's no secret about it. Teams come to Old Trafford and put 2 banks of 4, and we seem to sort of struggle between the lines. But going off the performance a bit, the result obviously was brilliant. I know it was only 1-0. It was a bit scrappy at times, but at the end of the day, a win's a win, and it's another win on top of Everton, which was seen as a tough, tricky away game as well. So we've got 2 on the bounce now. I know there's been a little bit of sort of to and froing on social media about the way we played and stuff like that, but it's a results game at the end of the day, and Ollie needs results at the moment. And as a fan base, like I said a few weeks ago, we're not going to complain if we're winning, are we? So I think we've got to sort of take the rough with the smooth. If Ollie is going to be the man longer term, we're going to have games like that. We are going to struggle to break down teams that put 2 banks of 4, but yeah, just a little bit more braver for me. I would have liked to see him go with maybe another creative midfielder in there, maybe a Pogba. I know he wasn't available yesterday, but someone like that, him or Donny, that can sort of maybe do something a little bit different. But yeah, they're my points. I'd put a more creative midfielder in there, a little bit more quality on the right, and most importantly, 3 points, wasn't it?
Yeah, good points well made. We're hoping Abdel will be able to get in and give us a bit more of a tactical view on yesterday's game as well. Brendan here saying West Brom tried to play football yesterday. It wasn't really a low block, to be fair. And to be fair, we dominated them in possession. So if they're trying to play football against us, they didn't really get the opportunity to. Jessica says, do we think the truth is that Pogba is injured? Who knows? I said this the other week with the comments that he came out and made, and the fact he's doing it every international break. No matter how much they're trying to dampen the fire on what was said or what he did say, I think he should have been punished this weekend. So maybe behind the scenes they are punishing him, but who knows? We can't speculate that because no one knows for sure. But it's a good point there, Jessica. Who knows? And that's one for us theory experts to mull over in our head and have a look at our sources, the HP and the Hines, and see what they're saying. So Timmy says Matic was wrong. We didn't need a number 6. How far up the pitch was Matic when West Brom was so compact? We needed as many technicians out there as possible for a game like that, i.e. Donny van der Beek. Yeah, I find it weird actually that Van der Beek isn't given a go or hasn't been given a go in a game like this as a 6, because he's going to get all the time on the ball. We're seeing Fred's position yesterday. He was further up the pitch than Matic. So surely, if you're looking for someone to break the lines and be able to play football, Van der Beek is the perfect player to do that. I'm baffled that he hasn't been given that opportunity, but you know, we've got to trust that actually there's a process going on behind the scenes to get him there, to starting these games, because that's what we all want to see. Reece, let me come over to you, mate. Good to have you back on. I hope you're good. Let's jump into it. Your thoughts on the game yesterday?
Where do I start? It wasn't the best yesterday. That's not something I can deny, frankly. It wasn't the best. It was equally as bad as Istanbul. Maybe worse. Difference is we got the win. What I'll also say though is, like, winning ugly is just as important as winning playing beautiful football. So there's a very important phrase for people, is like winning ugly is just as important as winning playing beautiful football. But yesterday we didn't need 2 defensive midfielders. I would have left Matic on the bench, and it's just, I feel like with the pace they had in midfield, I feel like it wouldn't have mattered because we had Fred's dynamism and his energy. I would have had Van de Beek in there. What I'd also say as well is I knew Matt was going to play. He was in my predicted lineup thing that I did. Like, he was my predicted right winger. I expected that. I genuinely thought he was going to play. But after watching the first 40 minutes, I was like, no disrespect, but you've got nothing in this game. Like, frankly, you should have just came off there and then. It would have been easier for someone to play 50 minutes rather than half an hour, like trying to take further advantage of the game. Furthermore, what I would say is Martial's a centre forward. It's starting to become a bit iffy. I'm not sure if it's best to use him in these games because he didn't do much yesterday at all. He was spacey, he was lackluster. What I would have done is I probably would have had Cavani in there a lot sooner. But then again, like, the manager's playing 2 players that have had injury problems, and that's Rashford and Lindelof. Frankly, yesterday I would have played Martial on the left wing and I would have played Cavani up front. I would have had Rashford on the bench. But then again, it's the manager's decision. What I will say though is we do need to be as good. I refer back to the comments before, but at least we're making chances. I put a tweet up yesterday saying less touches, fewer passes, pull the trigger quicker. And my best example was literally the minute Martial had that tap in. That was an easy save for Johnston. If he had put a bit more power behind that, that was 1-0 there and then. Regardless, we won. we move ahead, and we're ahead of Plastic FC and Banter FC. What more can I say?
That's a really good point, well made, to be fair. Like, and again, something we're going to get onto in a bit. Like, you have a look at the teams we're above at the moment, and even like if we win our game in hand, we're 4 points off top. Like, it's and we keep saying this, like our title race is over. But with the way this season is, it's just bonkers. I actually think that this season is all about is all about getting consistent results over finding a way to play beautiful football for any team. We've all got way too much football to play over the coming months. There's not going to be enough time on the training ground to be able to build a team playing fantastic football. And I think, and again, we're going to come back to this later on, so I don't want to ruin it. But my thoughts are, you know, if we're not happy winning games, then I think we're all in the wrong sport. But we'll get onto that anyway.
I think the one thing is, I just want to quickly say one thing before you move on. Sorry, Dad. One last thing as well is like, the key thing about football now is, I'm going to come back to it later on in the show, but the most important thing right now is to remember is football isn't about entertainment anymore. Football is a results business. So if we don't get the results, you win nothing, and it's also fueled by money. Mm-hmm. So there's no such thing as having fun anymore because it's being taken from the sport. So if you don't get results, you fail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. And you pay the price for it, because if you don't get Champions League football, you lose a ton of money, as you were saying there. Alex Ferguson's on. Oh, we are not worthy. We are not worthy. Alex Ferguson just pitching in here on that he thinks that Ollie needs to bring in new coaching staff and a new number 2. For me, I can't see what we're doing on the training pitch. If you want my opinion, we're not doing anything on the training pitch because the turnaround's too quickly that we're not able to actually sit on the training pitch and do new things. I think everything now is about the next game, and it's a bit more tactical than it is anything else, which is why we saw a 0-0 draw against Chelsea, why we just lost against Arsenal, you know, why games are so much more tighter at the moment than they were at the start of the season, when you're seeing about 60 goals in a Premier League weekend, and now you're seeing about 20 max. I think that's really telling in the amount of games. Super Smiley says, I would have loved to see Scott in central defensive midfield between Bruno and Donny. I'm not sure about the balance there, but I can see where you're coming from. We're trying to get the best players in the team to break an opposing side down. I can see what you're trying to do. Jarvis says, Solskjaer, by the way, hi Jarvis, how you good? Solskjaer needs to sort out the attacks. We have no movement and no patterns. Don't know if it's Solskjaer or the players, but we need to improve. Again, I think it comes down to time to be able to nurture this squad and play. I said this earlier on the preview show, by the way, for Istanbul Besiktas, which you can go and watch now. My personal thoughts are that our best run of football under Ollie has actually come either at the start of last season, where we went on that run for 5 or 6 games where we played brilliantly just off the cuff of pre-season, where Ollie had chance to teach these guys how he wanted them to play. Then we're hit with injuries, and straight after the pandemic, when we had 3 weeks of our whole squad fit in training, getting ready for the start of that season, since the pandemic affected us. And I think it's just telling now that he hasn't been able to get the players back on the training pitch to mould and gel again. I think, you know, I maybe I'm making excuses for him, but that in my head, I think is the logical explanation for this, but we'll come back to that. Kai, sorry, I've left you waiting, mate. Let me quickly bring Abdel back in. Abdel, we'll come over to you in a second, bro. I hope you're good. Kai, let's come over to you. Final thoughts on the West Ham win. West Brom win.
Hi, guys. Hi, guys. Well, my basic thoughts is, look, we got the 3 points, so we're happy about that. I think we created enough to win. And always we're caught in this thing where we say that a team like West Brom deserves something out of the game, where I don't necessarily agree, actually, because they conceded enough chances to lose the game. So they weren't even great defensively, actually, to be honest, because I think Bruno sliced them open 3 or 4 times. And obviously that comes to our strikers, who also need to do a lot better. I was just reading a stat that says we have the lowest conversion rate. We convert 7.7% of attempted shots in the league from our front players, which is the lowest. And it's been a while since we've had a United striker, which we almost are guaranteed that he's going to score every week. We used to have, it's a great feeling to have when you knew Van Persie was gonna bang it in every week, when you knew Ronaldo was gonna bang it in every week. We've been lacking that type of a striker for so long. And I think, like the boys were saying before, with Cavani, he needs to obviously get more minutes, but we don't create enough chances in those central positions in the box for that to happen. So I think Ole needs to work on that. But like you said, the turnaround time is really short. So, you know, we don't really have that much time to work on that. But yeah, I think overall, it wasn't obviously the best performance, but we always use the word best to describe this, but it doesn't make any sense to always say best. It's not often that every single team is at their best, because best implies that it's really optimum. It's the best that you can offer every time, and it's never like that. So we can't always say, yeah, it wasn't the best of performances. I know it's a figure of speech, but it gives the wrong idea. It was just an average game. We created enough chances to win a game. That's what you'd expect from a big team, even when it's not all going smooth. And we also really limited West Brom. They didn't have that many chances as well. I think they had one standout performer. I think Pereira, who's actually a fantastic player. We probably should, people should be looking at as well, because he's very slippery as well. So I think, all in all, it was 3 points. And it's nothing to be very frustrated about. It's nothing to be extremely overjoyed about. But we just hope that obviously as the games go on, we see improvement in those performances, hopefully. But yeah, that's my general thoughts on that one.
Good points, Kai. Isaac says Ollie's major problem is that he seems unable to keep the players motivated for a long stretch of time. Jacob says, imagine Traoré for Mata. Why did we sign him so late? I think I can answer that question, because our board thought that Dortmund would actually would just drop under pressure and go, yeah, here's my star player, have him for 40 million less. So that's why I think. Jamie says Cavani impressed me yesterday. Apparently this is his real name. You're welcome, guys. No bullshit. Fair enough. And Newton Heaps on, hello mate, hope you're good. We're scoring 2.7 goals per game this season after 13 games. How are we having problems in attack? I don't know if you're agreeing or disagreeing, but I think on that, these stats, if you win a game by like 3-0 and then only win the next 5 games by 1-0, or win a game by 5-0 and then draw 0-0 3 games on the bounce and lose one, like, they're really flawed, I think, to look at it like that. But I can see where you're coming from if you look at the stats and you look at the
Stats aren't
data.
everything.
Well, don't say that with Abdel in the room. He loves pitching and tearing up stat books. Don't you, Abdel?
Oh, he loves his stats when he does it correctly. I'm just pointing straight out. Stats
We
are
only
I
always
listen
love
to
him,
one
but
stat, man.
Ben put it perfectly. Ben is right. I mean, you can score 7 goals in one game and then go for the next 5 and score only 1. So they can get very skewed. So
Abdel, let me come over to you. Although you are crackling a little bit, for some reason that always happens when you have these headphones in. But let me come over to you anyway, and we'll see if we can still hear you. I just want your final thoughts on the West Brom win, mate. What did you make of it?
I think it was okay. I think the performance was actually not bad, or not the best, of course. Like Kai was saying, it's not the best performance, of course, but it was okay. I actually didn't watch the match when it happened live. I watched it later on in the day, but from some of the comments I saw on Twitter, I actually thought we lost until someone told me that actually no, we won the game. But it's no, it wasn't that bad. We created enough chances to win the game comfortably, but we just didn't get our chances. And I think that we were relying a lot on runs off the shoulder. And this is where, unfortunately, what Martial's tendencies got exposed a little bit, because he likes to come in deep and receive it to feet. And he's always been like that, and I don't think that will change about Martial. Like, he improved a lot in last season on that, but he did it too frequently in that game, where, yes, he made some couple of runs at the beginning of the match were okay, and then he started doing his tendency again. And then Cavani showed him up when he came on with his like he's definitely world class in his movement off the ball. And yeah, I don't know what Ollie is gonna do about that. Like, I was having a conversation with, I know you guys know the guy, that United Arena guy, and we were arguing about Martial, whether he's gonna work as a number 9 for United in the long-term future. And we managed to ask someone at United if Martial was given an instruction to be dropped deep to receive the ball and connect play, or is this something he's doing on his own? Because we wanted to know the difference, because the difference was huge in terms of how the system is being played out. And they said no, Martial was never given an instruction to drop deep and try to connect play, that he does that on his own. His instructions were always be to stay in the box, make runs off the shoulder of the defender, of their defensive line is high, try to head in, these scruffy stuff, which Ollie also keeps talking about all the time. So I was actually shocked, because initially I thought that Ollie wanted Martial to play kind of the false nine, the guy who drops in a little bit deep and allows his inside forwards to run in behind him and link up with them. But he does not want him to do that frequently. He actually wants him to be the 9 in the box. And now everything connected. Now I see why Ollie is so bang on about Haaland and why he wants him. So, yeah, but overall, the performance was good. He had chances where he should have finished. He was in the box and made a couple of okay runs. But will he improve? I think we'll see this season. This season will define Martial in the striker position.
I've got to agree, and Joe made that point as well. I think on the reaction of the day, Abdel, I've got to say you are crackling again. So I don't know if you've got some other headphones on you, but there was parts where you were right, and other parts where it sounded like there was gunfire as you were talking. It was a little bit crazy. So I just wanted to pre-warn you. All right, mate, no worries. Come back in as soon as you're done. Yeah, no worries. But speaking a lot of truths there, Abdel, I've got to say, and I think it's interesting when we go back to this Cavani and Martial chatter. When I spoke to Jonathan Johnson on an old podcast who works for The Gossip, and he follows PSG every game, and he was telling me about how Cavani kicked Icardi out of the PSG team when he came back in, and Icardi was in fantastic form up to that point, but Cavani just came back and was brilliant. He literally said to me, he went, look, if you think that Cavani's coming in as a backup number 9, no. By Christmas, he'll be starting for Manchester United, and I think we are seeing that now. I think we are seeing why Cavani still has that world-class talent about him, and why potentially, because of consistency, he will get a chance in this team to take Martial's place. So it's going to be an interesting few months, I think, for our strikers. Newton, I don't know who you're talking about here in terms of calling him Trashford. I mean, we definitely haven't done that. I don't think anyone on here would have.
None of us have.
I think there's a big reactionary part of our fan base, but I think you can only say what you see. So, if we're praising Rashford for getting a hat-trick and for nutmegging Upamecano one game, that's absolutely great. But also, if someone's going to ask my opinion on how good was Rashford against West Brom or how good was he in another game, I can only then tell you the truth on what I thought his performance was. So that's not me having an agenda against Rashford. This is just me saying as a fan what I see, and nothing I say is correct. As much as nothing I say is actually is actually wrong. Like it's just balance.
None of us have an agenda. It's just consistency is the key. That's all we want.
Rashford could play on the right. If Rashford was more comfortable on the right, and Ollie could put Tony over to the left, I think Cavani would already be starting.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I've always thought with Rashford's right foot, I would have thought that actually he could do some serious damage with his crossing.
Rashford is a lot better than Martial with runs off the shoulder. A lot better. He could actually fill the striker role better than Martial from what I've seen, at least in yesterday's game.
It's like Kai was saying there. Can you imagine like a Van Nistelrooy like at the front of our attack at the moment? Like just someone that's sort of ice cold. I'm hoping, obviously, with fitness, Cavani will be that guy. But I'm adamant that if Rashford was comfortable on the right, and I don't know if that's something they can maybe work on in training, I think Cavani would be playing already. He would be in my team if Rashford could play on that right. I'd have the front three: Cavani in the middle, Rashford on the right, Tony on the left. Because I think yesterday when he went to left wing. I don't think he had his best game yesterday, but won't go into that anyway.
Well, if you look back to the I was just going to say, and Abdel agree. I was going to say, Abdel probably agree with us on this as well, because the way he analytically thinks on performances. Cast your mind back to the way we played against Leipzig. We played Martial as a left-sided striker, and we played Rashford as a right-sided striker, and they were holding those channels perfectly, and they were only coming in when they were on the attack. They were stretched out wide, so the attacking midfielder can press through. Frankly, I think that's better for those two rather than playing them as wingers. Play them as wide, play them as like central forwards. Just have them pushed out wide, and then let the attacking midfielder come in and let him do his job and bring them in.
Well, with the 4-2-3-1, we currently don't play them as wingers. Like,
we can't that way, no.
Yeah, it's just that their tendencies annoys me, because Martial has been playing on the left wing for a long time. So up until now, a year later into Ollie's time, he's still drifting into the left half space. He still drifts into the left side and tries to connect play with Rashford. Like, Rashford is better than him at maintaining his position. It's just that Martial is better in finishing, So but they still have these tendencies from previous positions. So, like, the instructions that they're given, from what I can see at least, is that number, the Rashford position, the left wing, and the right position, the right position, which Mata plays in right now, they need to be on the edges of the box and making runs into the box from the sides. They're not supposed to hold width. Who are supposed to hold your width are the fullbacks at the moment.
Yeah.
That's how we want to at least play our football. But because they're so inconsistent with their tendencies, you see Rashford holding width when he shouldn't be holding width. Why are you holding width? And then you realize it's because Martial dropped into the half space on the left side, and then he vacates that position in the center when there is nobody in the box, and we pull our hairs and like, why is there no one in the box? Who are we going to cross it to? So, and then that affects Telles or affects Shaw if Shaw's playing, because he has to drop back. He can't move forward. To supply to. So these tendencies in Rashford and Martial at the moment are causing us issues. Add on top of all of that we don't even have a right winger, then you are basically stuck in a square on the left side, and you're just going in round circles. You know, that's the problem we have.
Let me just quickly hand over. Jamie, wait a second. Let me just quickly hand over to Kai quickly, because Kai's been trying to jump in for the last couple of minutes. Let me just quickly hand over to Kai, and I'll come back over to you, Jamie. Go on, Kai.
Yeah, that's fine, mate.
So sorry, Jamie. So sorry. I just wanted to say, I think, in terms of Cavani, is it not time that we start to look at building our attack around a genuine world-class striker? Because what's happening now is we're always thinking, okay, Rashford, Martial, but they are the ones which are a level below Cavani. I know he's just come in, but if we make the team more to Cavani's strengths and play that way, then maybe we might just have a 30-goal striker for the season. But now it seems like every time, no matter what we do, Rashford and Martial are the ones causing the general problem, because they both must play, but one can't play on the right. One isn't a deadly enough striker. But we do have a genuine. That's what's making me go crazy, because Cavani is genuinely just world class. Like, you can just look at him and you just say, okay, this is El Matador. This is somebody that that we can look to score goals. So maybe, I don't know if it's time to discuss that kind of thing that says maybe Rashford needs to be on the bench, or maybe Martial needs to be on the bench, just for the good of the team. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I think the only way I would respond to that is we tried that with Lukaku. We tried, and this is not me saying, oh, Lukaku's better than Cavani or whatever, because frankly, Cavani's better than Lukaku. But what I would say is, like, we don't play to that. I don't think we play that style anymore. I think we're trying to use individual forwards as complete forwards instead of natural strikers.
Adaptable. Sorry, Lukaku's less adaptable.
The target man.
That's my thing. So Cavani's
I would use it, though.
A guy who's adaptable, who played on the right, he's played on the left, he's played center forward. When he goes to Uruguay, he basically plays wherever he likes, with Suarez up front. So I mean, he's a guy who can adapt his game a lot more. That's why now he even looks threatening, more threatening than Lukaku would be in this system, because I think they're just genuine, they're just different players. One is very I don't know how to explain them, but they're different, profile of players, and I think Cavani could be anything.
If we get someone to man the right hand side, then if we get someone that can effectively cover the right hand side, who's a natural right winger, who is capable of getting goals but also delivering through threaded passes and crosses, then perhaps, because we've got the perfect number 10 in Fernandes, who can fulfill the role to feed him through also through the middle. So
I just want to jump into a couple of comments here. Jarvis says Martial is doing the Alexis Sanchez movement, blocking space for others. And I think yesterday we saw that a bit with him and Bruno, where he was dropping a bit deeper. Abdul, you hit on it a minute ago, dropping a bit deeper and blocking a bit of room there for Bruno, to the point where he was coming out to the left back position to try and find space to get on the ball at times yesterday, which really stood out to me. Jessica makes a good point here. I miss being at Old Trafford and being able to watch more of the off the ball movement. So hard trying to watch it on the telly, and I completely agree with that. United Extra Time here says, Ben and lads, have you seen our run of games at the Christmas period? Ollie won't survive if he's a dead man walking, in my opinion. Again, all opinions welcome. I mean, for me now, as I said, I sort of don't care about performances leading up to Christmas, and we'll talk more about that a bit later. I want to see results, and obviously, someone said earlier on, it's a results business. So, of course, if Ollie doesn't get the results between now and Christmas, he is, of course, a dead man walking. But if we can start picking up results, I mean, you don't fire a manager who's winning games, do you? So I think it's one of those. It's a bit of a conundrum in terms of this season being an anomaly to any other season we've ever seen before in the history of the league. But also where we're going and the process of the football club, which, if you look behind the scenes, there isn't much of a frigging process, however frustrating that is. Anyway, let's move on. I want to hit on some positives because that's the title of the video. I want to talk about positives from the West Brom game yesterday because there's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of things happening. Jamie, let me come over to you first, mate, because you were speaking, I rudely cut you out. We were talking a bit about Cavani. So for you, would a positive be, and a lot of comments been made, when Cavani came on, showing up Martial and looking like a natural number 9. For you, is seeing Cavani play yesterday with a bit more fitness in his legs a positive?
Yeah, like Abdul and Kai was saying, I feel that Cavani, we need to build a team around Cavani. He's a natural goal scorer, and United's problem in the past has been that we get a lot of chances, but we don't score the goals. Like, we don't take when we're 1-0 up and we've got the chance of a clear-cut opportunity, like Rashford, like yesterday, Rashford and Martial missed good chances to put the game to bed. And obviously there's been a bit of criticism about the result, but if them 2 goals go in, we're 3-0 up and nobody's worrying about the result. So it's just a case of a little bit more clinical. But I was delighted when we brought Cavani, and I think we've been crying out for a out-and-out goal scorer since Van Persie left. That was what Kai was mentioning earlier, but obviously, we've got frailties down the right that the lads have mentioned it. I know I did as well, but I feel like the game we played against PSG was arguably the best performance of the whole season. Tough game. We seem to rise when the opponent's better, but maybe we need to sort of look at that situation with the right side and maybe go into a free back and have 2 wing backs to cater for that right side and let Wan-Bissaka try and do his work down there, because I feel like a lot's been made of Cavani, but I've seen some sort of pelters towards Telles yesterday. But like, Telles was an attacking fullback at Porto. I think he's going to be more suited to a wing back role. I think if you're going to play a left back, Luke Shaw's a better option there if it's a flat back 4. So that was pretty much my point earlier. But I feel like we've got to get Cavani into the team, because we against the bigger teams, it's all well and good missing chances against West Broms and teams of that level. But when you go and play City like we've got in a few weeks, we might get only 2 chances in the game. We need to take them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good point. Well made there, Jamie.
Based off finishing, I play top 2 Cavani and Greenwood. Frankly, I said it I think I said it on one of my first times I was on this channel. I said I would play a back 3 and I would play Bruno Fernandes number 10. I play Greenwood and Cavani up top. I think that was exactly what I said. So I agree with you. I
mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, Ben, as well. Like, sometimes the team has to come first, and if the personnel doesn't suit the fan base, then that's the way it goes. It's like what someone said a minute ago. It's a results business, and if it means sort of leaving out a certain player because they don't fit the system, then that's just the way it goes. I like the idea of Cavani and Rashford, because Cavani can hold the ball up, although he's an out-and-out goal scorer that will be in the penalty area. We maybe need a Rashford that can sort of run in behind with that bit of electric pace. But then the argument comes of, well, if you're playing 2 wing backs, Wan-Bissaka and Telles, if you can fit a Twanzebe in, for example, that will cater for the lack of pace for Lindelof and Maguire, then all you're going to get from our fan base is, well, where does Martial fit in? Sometimes he doesn't fit in. So it's all catered on games, and I feel like you're never going to please our fan base. We've got a lot of quality footballers, but they all can't play in certain systems. It's just as simple as that.
Started with Cavani, ended up on Tuanzebe, Jamie.
Ben,
big up Axel.
Every time we play a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3 or whatever, the whole fan base says we're playing a 5-3-2. So you can't really win anymore with the fan base. So I think going for the best for the team is I think the best option.
Do you know what that is like, Kai? It's because everyone over-analyzes everything from a tactical point of view, and I don't get it. It's just like, you see a team sheet put out, it's like, oh, what formation is this today? Who cares? Just go and win the freaking game. Don't care if you're playing.
Couldn't care less if we win, man.
As long as we win, I literally couldn't give a crap who's on that pitch. Connor, let me come over to you because this comment earlier on by Jamie was talking about Cavani, saying that Cavani looked good. Obviously, we've just heard from Jamie now on Cavani looking good. But another positive from yesterday, Alex Telles, Connor, what did you make of his performance?
Yeah, I thought he looked good. A bit short of opportunities again, for what we've said throughout the show, where we overload that left-hand side far too much. So there's not too much space for him to work in. But I thought overall defensively solid, and we all know what he can do going forward. So I thought it was a good debut. I hope obviously we see more of him. And the discussions about going to a back three or back five, whichever way you want to look at it, I think Tellez would really thrive in that, as we saw in Paris for the 60 minutes that he was on. So that's a major positive, and I think it's a massive upgrade on Luke Shaw, especially going
Oliver,
forward.
do you think that Tellez can complement Rashford quite nicely? Are you excited to see those two playing together? Oh, by the way, you're muted, Oliver.
And I think it's a massive upgrade on.
There we are. Well, it's like we said, the match reaction, mate. That gets the juices flowing. You see Tellez and Rashford, it doesn't work yet, but when it does, that could be a lethal combination down there. The give and goes from Tellez is just smart football. He got himself out of any trouble sort of cleverly, and it was under control. And he just looks a more professional, like top class player than Luke Shaw in that position for me. I think you could tell there was a lack of that sort of knowing where your teammate is going to be, or, it's that sort of Cole and York. You don't have to think they are there. I think that's going to come with time. But yet again, I think with Rashford on the left, Tellez at left wing back, or even left back, it worked yesterday because there was cover. And Wan-Bissaka sort of moved over into a back three whenever they went up. As I say, the give and goes, the crossing, it was just another level for me. On another day, a couple quicker touches from Rashford just to keep the attacks going, as opposed to stopping from uncertainty where Tellez was going. That could have been, lethal, especially, if we'd have had Cavani on from the start doing his clever runs, as opposed to Martial sort of dropping deep and not being in the box. So for me, that was the main highlight from yesterday. I mean, it was Tellez watch.
I love
the
that.
whole
It's a
game.
good point, well made.
In terms of Tellez, actually, the funny thing is, if you watch the fundamental difference, I think, between him and Shaw, if you watch what Shaw does, every time he looks up to the run in the channel, he always denies the pass. So he always kind of fakes and then comes back in and then passes it across again horizontally. But what was happening with Tellez is he was looking up because he's so confident in his ability to deliver that pass, because you can actually see he's a guy that knows how to pass the ball. So every time he looks up and he sees the run being made, then he plays it over, which is also like what Ashley Young used to do with Lukaku on the right-hand side. But Ashley Young used to get the pass wrong all the time, and it used to frustrate all of us. But now, actually, you can see Tellez is so confident in his ability that he's able to get the ball in those tight spaces, and he actually goes for that pass. So I think that's one big difference with Shaw, because Shaw doesn't like that risky pass over the top, or he plays it once or twice, but he doesn't do it consistently. So I think
it was the speed of it as well, though.
Yeah, exactly. The speed. Yeah,
speed of the movement. Much like the Everton game through the middle. As soon as we were quick passing, it looked dangerous with the class on the pitch. So I think that's another thing we're going to get from him.
I think United fans just need to get used to having a saucy left back, like actual top class teams,
Yeah, I don't mind that.
He was looking for the switch quite a lot yesterday, wasn't he? Over to the right wing. He tried that ball a couple of times right over.
Yeah, 8 crosses yesterday.
He was looking for that switch of play from the left to the right. So hopefully, and sort of a little bit more match sharp, he'll be playing balls over to the right wing from that left back, which will be putting us on the front foot. So I cannot wait for him to get fit, because I've seen so much of him at Porto. He's going to be a fantastic player for us.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as he can defend, he can have all the flair he likes. At the end of the day, as a left back, he needs to be able to defend. And he did impress me yesterday. I think I can't remember where we've in the past in games, although Luke Shaw's come a long way this season, I think he's played better than he has in a long time. He's still susceptible to letting his so to speak, attacking opposition, get past him and put a cross in the box, and then we get into trouble. Whereas I can't actually remember conceding a cross yesterday down their right flank, our left. So I was actually quite impressed on the first looks of Tellez yesterday, actually with in the four at the back, because I liked him, as we mentioned earlier on, as a wing back, but I liked him in the four yesterday. I think he looked really good. Mike, let me come over to you. I think Tim, hopefully you're still with us. Niagara MUFC made this point to me earlier on Twitter in terms of Bruno Fernandes yesterday. For some reason, our fan base has been giving him stick recently. I just cannot fathom it. But yesterday he made, I think it was something like 6 key passes in key areas where United should have potentially scored goals from. I mean, we're criticising the fact that we only won 1-0 and maybe didn't do enough to steamroll West Brom like we should have. But Bruno Fernandes has just been at the cutting edge of everything good from United, hasn't he, Mike?
Yeah, he has. If anyone's slating Bruno Fernandes, he's been one of our key players since he joined. I think he was just a bit frustrated yesterday. Like you said, he had a lack of end product. I think the amount of assists he could have, if there were actual players to finish the chances he was creating, would be through the roof. They already are. But I think on the whole, the pieces of the team are there. I think the biggest challenge we've got, and Ole has got, is making these pieces work coherently for whatever opposition we've got. At the minute, we're not doing that. We're not adapting our style of play and our formation and the personnel we've got in the positions to suit the opposition we've got. I think West Brom was a perfect example of that. We could have adapted so much better and so much differently. But the positive being that it's reassuring to see players like Cavani and players like Tellez giving us something completely different and a new dimension to the positions we've already got. A sharp Cavani is going to be a goal scorer. We know that. And I think, the left link-ups between Tellez and Rashford were great to see. There were some really good early signs there. So the pieces are there. There's some huge Jadon Sancho-shaped pieces missing. I think the ones we have got just need...
Yeah, and Kai just put in the private chat, his pass to Mata, that little dink over was so beautiful. Like, could you imagine a Sancho like leaning out onto that? And it would have just been...
I put up a tweet, I think it was half-time. I think it was around half-time. My exact words were, Bruno Fernandes is playing a simple game. No risky passes yet. He'll still get slander. And he did in the second half. And I'm like, you want him to play risky passes, but he gives the ball away. But he's creating chances. He plays simple passes, lead to chances. You still slander him. Like, seriously, shut the up. Like, he's doing his job. And he gets slandered. It's probably because it's all, I don't know if it's Pogba fans who are just like, it's because he's not playing.
Oh, it is.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you there. Jarvis here. Fernandes is our only world-class player. I mean, look, he is the one player at the moment we've had this conversation before, haven't we, Abdel? What does world-class mean? For me, it means consistency. And I think he's the one player who's freaking consistent. And maybe at the moment, who I'm going to come on to you about, Abdel, actually, just quickly, feel free to hit on this and what I'm saying as well. David De Gea, again, yesterday, showing his improvement in goal. That save he made, incredible, keeping it at 0-0. And it's fantastic that he's got a clean sheet to show for it, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very happy for Big Dave, man. He's been taking a lot of hits lately, especially the last 2 years since the World Cup 2018. And his confidence was shot, but I'm happy to see him get back his confidence. And he did one of his trademark saves with his leg. So I was actually happy to see it, not mad that we conceded a chance, which is weird. But I hope he continues this form and get back to the David De Gea we know. Like David De Gea was probably our best player pre that World Cup 2018, where his confidence got shot, and he's been for like 5-6 years. And another thing on Fernandes, I saw the comments, I saw videos and stuff like that, and I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Fernandes has created the most chances in the league this season. Now, it's not his fault that his forwards are not finishing. That's not his issue. He's here to create chances. Not only that, he's our top goal scorer. Like, I think in all competitions is Rashford on 7, but with the goal yesterday, Fernandes equals Rashford, so he's our top goal scorers as well. Yesterday he was our top tackler. He was like, I mean, the guy. What more do you want from the guy? He's doing several jobs at the same time. And I think he's like the 3rd or the 4th in Europe on created chances. So like, what more do you want? Just because
quickly, Abdel. The one thing we don't want from him is for him to concede a penalty. Now, can you settle mine and Ollie's argument, please? We've had people piping up in the comments. Was that a penalty? Because I'm convinced it wasn't. Whereas Oliver said that obviously it could have been given and maybe it shouldn't have been overturned. What's your thoughts, Abdel?
I'm on the 50-50 one. Like it could
Oh, he's sitting on the fence. How does that fence still?
No,
You're not getting splinters, are you?
I've seen both happen. Contact. Neither defenders nor any one of us can deny that there was contact. Yes, and the contact is minimum. So it's
Oh,
really,
we're losing you slightly, Abdel. Abdel, you're coming in and out slightly with your sound. Sorry, say that again.
Can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Yeah, hear you better now, mate.
Yeah, I was saying it's a very subjective one because I've seen both given opposite ways. Because yes, he got a little bit of the ball, and the contact was minimal, but you've seen referees give it, and you've seen other referees don't give it. So I was like, I won't be like. Of course, I'll be mad if it's got given against us. I don't want to concede the penalty, but I would see why it was given, and I also see why it wasn't given.
Okay, so you agree with me. Perfect. Right, let's move on. So, yeah, no, he definitely said that he shouldn't have been given. Reece, let me come over to you quickly because we need to get through this. The one other thing, of course, that we can take as a positive from yesterday for me is the fact that that's back-to-back wins now. Now, maybe the international break will mask or put a bit of mist in towards that. But as I was saying earlier on, don't you think that it's important right now that we are picking up 3 points game after game instead of stumbling with a little draw here, stumbling with a 1-0 defeat there? Now we can actually kickstart our season. Ollie always said it would take 6 to 8 games to get in our mojo. Well, it's been 6 to 8 games now. Now's the time to start picking up 3 points consistently, isn't it, Reece?
Yeah. The most important thing is just getting results, get the win, and then move on. Frankly, that's what we need to do. But we also need to realise our mentality is crucial. Like, don't slip up. Don't settle for defeat. Don't even settle for a draw. Like, we're Man United. We're not bloody West Ham. We're not Leicester. We're not Man City. We need the results. But
Yeah. No, I'm completely with you there, Reece. I think that when we're looking at it and we're actually analysing this, I think that we need to get the wins. We need to make sure that we are getting 3 points on the board, because if we are not, then we're going to stumble. Kai, what about you? How important is it for us to get the wins right now?
Yeah, it's definitely very important at the moment, especially because of the fact that we have so many games coming up. I think it's just going to come up to who can grind them out, who can get the 1-0s, who can get the last minute pens and bury them, or the one chance, one goal. But I've always thought of something, and I have a question for you guys. Who would you rather have in a bad patch, Jose or Pep, as a manager? So if your team's going through a bad form, who would you rather have?
Well, it's dependent. Jose would throw his toys out, wouldn't he, after too long?
I've never seen Pep have to go through hard form.
I'm saying in terms of football-wise. So let's just keep it at just the football they play, and that's it. In bad form, who would you rather have?
Well, that's the same argument as would you rather have 3 points, as in a scrappy 1-0 win every week, i.e. Jose, or would you rather blow teams away 5-0 and lose 1-0, every
Do you know what? Can I just reflect on something Reece said, actually, on his point? I would rather have the manager and the team that is going to battle to win that game 1-0. And that's what I care about the most. So, for me, if we're actually going to say and be blunt about the other, for me personally, I mean, we'll go by one to answer your question. For me, it's Jose. Connor?
Yeah, it would have to be Jose. He seems to win when the backs are against the wall. And also as well, someone might fact check me, but I'm pretty sure this is correct. Over half of our wins the last time we won the title, 14 wins, came by a 1 or 2 goal margin, and they went to what you'd class as the big six. They were to like your Fulhams, Southamptons, and West Hams. So just get the win. That's the most important thing, especially with the fixtures coming up. We can't go full out in every single game because we'll burn out by Christmas.
And I guess
what
I was just trying to then point out is the fact that, like, if you're a team who's managed by Jose, for example, if you're now losing, let's say you've lost 3 on the bounce or whatever, and all you have to bring is winning mentality, and you're not winning anymore for that time, versus if you're someone like Pep, where you are not winning in that time, but you are genuinely outclassing everyone, then what's more important? Is it the wins or is it the victory in the long term? Do you know what I mean? But I mean, for now, obviously, we want to get the wins. But
I get that point now.
If you blow someone away 6-0 on a highlight reel on Sky Sports, 10 years back, win a championship, your name's on a cup.
His point goes back to the play style. Okay, because Pep Guardiola's team never lose their playing style, and they always batter team with chances, but they still sometimes lose on the counterattack.
Do you know what? Abdul, here's the answer to the question. Go and ask a City fan yesterday if he was happy with that result, because in the first half they were miles better than Spurs. Like, they can, for me, even though Spurs got a goal on the break, they played so much better than Tottenham. They're playing brilliant football in that first half. Second half, all went to pot. So, they didn't sustain it for 90 minutes. But if you go and ask a City fan after that game if he's happy with that, I bet he was going to say no, he'd rather have won it 1-0.
On the performance chart, City should have scored at least 4 goals yesterday.
Yeah.
And they scored nothing. And Tottenham, based on all the chances they created throughout the 90 minutes, they should have scored half goal from all the chances they've got, and they scored 2. So they were very clinical on both occasions, by the way, even the February one, the 2-0 loss in February also. They were just very clinical, and they knew where to hit City on the counter-attack where they're very vulnerable.
City have no fans. Can I just say, by the way, Kai, if you didn't, I know you didn't mean to do this, but you've just transitioned us perfectly from one segment to another here, because we're going to talk about win versus performance now. Anyway, do you want to finish? Abdul, I completely got what you're saying, by the way, I'm trying to summarize it. But do you want to finish your point what you were saying there in terms of the Pep Mourinho and sort of in terms of the importance of maybe consistently winning versus consistently performing? And
so basically,
right. Oh, sorry,
Kai. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the update. So basically, what I'm just trying to get at is there's 2 types of fans, and there's fans who really say that the win is everything, and then there's fans who say performance as well is everything. And sometimes you can't have both in a game. And I think it just kind of speaks to the type of world that we live in now, where if a person does a nutmeg, for example, the next question is, but he got the ball dispossessed afterwards. And it's like, yeah, but there was magic. But it's football. It's magic. It's nice. But now it's a whole lot of efficiency, and that's how it goes. And that's just how it is in football nowadays, especially with the game so close to each other and everything. You've just got to win. No one has time for your style. I guess only when you lose, and only when you're Ole as well. When you're Ole, everything's about style. Nothing's really about the wins and all of that. So it's, I don't know, it's different now.
Yeah, and that's 100% why I want to have this discussion. 100%. Yeah, no, Kai, I was just going to say that's 100% why I want to have this discussion, because I do feel like there's a split between fans. And I don't know I don't know whether it's generational. I don't know if it's dependent on, the teams you watched growing up or the model of football you're in. I don't know. I don't want to say that is it, because I always feel like there's an old versus young split anyway when it comes to football fans, which I don't think is true anyway. We speak to so many different people in this channel who actually idolize what younger fans are saying and completely agree with it. So I don't sort of agree with that, but I do agree that there's a split between, well, we can't celebrate a win because we haven't got a starter play and we don't play well. We can't celebrate a win because we haven't got a starter play, so there's no progress under a manager. How are we then judging a season? It doesn't matter anymore whether you win trophies or where you finish in the table. It's about whether you've managed to create a starter play over a season as to whether you're making progress as a club. I find this a really weird situation we're in. Abdul, I want to come over to you first. Sort of reflecting off the back, I suppose, of Kai's question, of what Kai was saying as well. When it comes to winning versus performances and adopting a style of play, what sort of fence do you sit on? And I know this is a really long question for you to answer in such a small amount of time, but how important is it for a team to adopt a philosophy to benefit the long term? How much goes into that, and how physically possible is it? Look at Barcelona. Barcelona, for me, the only team who's been able to do it in the last maybe 20 years. We're seeing now Bayern starting to maybe pick up on the good decisions they've made recently.
Yeah, it all stems from, I hate to have to keep talking about this, it all stems from the recruitment, really.
Yeah.
You're a bit quiet again. You're a bit quiet again, Abdel. Sorry, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, that's better, mate. That's better.
Okay. So I'm saying I have to bang about this again, but it all starts from recruitment, really. It doesn't start from the manager. You know, it's okay. I don't really know what the football director exactly does, because each football director at each club does something differently. Their position's different. But let's say that the football director is or his team are the ones that decide how you want to play as a club. Okay, they start recruiting players that can fit these positions, and then they bring in the manager that likes to play that style. You know, that's how Liverpool did it. That's how Barcelona did it with Pep Guardiola back in when that phase between 2008 and 2012. That's how Bayern Munich are doing it right now.
Brendan makes a point on Ajax, by the way, Abdel, which backs up what you were saying in terms of recruitment from young through to the first team squad.
Exactly. Right now, United have a mixture of 3-4 different styles. Like if I were to ask you right now, what is Sir Alex Ferguson's defined style? What would you say?
Attacking width, I'd say.
Yeah. You score, we'll score more.
That's just a method. That's not a style.
It's a method, yeah.
Well, strength in midfield and then attacking through the width. That's a style of play. Strength in the core through the spine.
If I give you an example, like a team like Barcelona, what do you define as their style?
Well,
it's a tiki-taka, isn't it? It's a short passing,
possessional-based football.
Yeah, but tiki-taka is a word that got formed in the media. It's not really an actual style
that's being available, isn't it? For a pass.
So
available.
Yeah, there is different philosophies, right? So you have the Dutch football, which gets called total football, and you have the style of Barcelona, which is called position-based football, and then you have Sir Alex Ferguson's style, which was a hybrid. It wasn't one specific style, definite style. He used to play counter-attacking a lot of the times. He used to play direct football a lot of the times. But it was never about position for Sir Alex Ferguson. It was about very direct, how can I hurt the opposition the quickest, in the quickest way possible. And that was his style. Counter-attacking is a style, which is a good thing. Yes, we know about it. Everybody knows about it. Some people love it. Some people hate it. I personally think it's amazing style of play because it's deadly. Jose Mourinho has two definite styles. He doesn't play one style. He plays counter-attacking and long ball football. That's a definite style, where your defense doesn't join your offense, and your offense, all they try to do is either hold the ball up and play a winger or run off the shoulder of the last line by separating them from each other, having the attack and the defense in phases, in away from each other. What Oli is trying to do right now is bring back that same hybrid that Sir Alex Ferguson used to play, which is direct football coupled with counter-attacking when they need to. You know what I mean? So people actually don't know what style is. That's the problem, especially if you go by Twitter opinion.
Sorry, can I just quickly say, Abdel? Can I just say, I think it's beautiful that you can explain that, and I think it's beautiful in the way that you explain it, and I love the way you talk about football, which is why I love having you on shows, and I love communicating with you. Yeah. But I also want to hit on here, and this is why I get into the whole slightly fan channel culture, but also the new fan culture that's sort of taken off now on social media, where we all talk about tactics a bit too much. Yeah. For me as a fan, I sort of care about that, but I sort of don't care about that. I just want us to play a style of football where we win at all costs. I sort of don't care how that looks or how that's perceived or what we would call it if we were being really technical. Yeah. I just want to see the team go out and be positive. And I feel like under Sir Alex Ferguson, if we're going back without getting all technical, every game, even if he would let the opposition have the ball for the first 20 minutes and throw everything at us, you know, for the next 70 minutes, we throw the kitchen sink at them because we're ridiculously positive in the way we play. And I think that's where sort of we're getting, I don't know, we sort of get lost slightly now. Like, I still feel that sometimes when we watch Ollie's United.
I was going to come on to that one. What people are defining as good performance and bad performance is actually mentality.
Yes.
So for example, the Chelsea game, we all thought it was a negative performance. It was boring. It was a bore fest. Blah 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 blah. Why? Because the mentality of both teams weren't to attack at first. The mentality of both teams were to keep it compact. And this, like, I'm worried about what Chelsea is going to bring, and Chelsea is worried about what Manchester United is going to bring. So there is no intention, no positivity. So it's regarded as bad performances. Nowadays, with statistics and all that stuff, how can you back your opinion of bad performance? Look at how many shots there is, how many shots on target. Oh, we did not do anything, you know? And this is how these things get skewed. But what we classify also as good performance is how, like we were saying, oh, Luke Shaw is bombing forward, Rashford is making runs. Oh, we took this chance, we took that chance, we missed this chance. And there's a lot of chances in it. But that does not define whether you had a style or not. You know what I mean? It's a separate subject completely from you can play very well and hit people hard, but you don't have a definite style because you're just very positive and aggressive in your mentality.
But then also sometimes the style chat becomes irrelevant because if we win, you win. If you lose, you lose. If you draw, you draw. It's just a fact. That's the biggest fact to come out of the game, isn't it? Let me just quickly come to the comments, guys. Just quickly. Russell Vine says here, Sir Alex was constantly changing the team, so the same balance was to counter the main opponent. Sir Alex also trained Ollie to run the club. Brendan says under Ferguson, playing Chelsea was always a boring match. Obviously, people forget about stuff like that. And as someone made a point earlier on about 1-0 wins, I think it was you, Connor. We're getting to here. There's some chat about the sporting director and bits and pieces like that. Hello to Trigger Kim for joining us as well. Connor, let me come over to you, mate, a little bit on this. So where are you at when it comes to winning a game versus the performance? What do you, first of all, when you go into a match, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about, what's the performance going to be like today? Or are you thinking, do you know what? We really need to get 3 points now. I can't wait to see us get 3 points. Where's your mentality at before a game?
I think it's slightly different depending on. I think when you go to Old Trafford, I think you want to be entertained. I think football's slightly moved in that direction with the way that, like you mentioned there, Barcelona, Man City, and the way that Liverpool have raised that bar. But I think at the moment, especially just in the current climate, it's just all about the win. If you listen to a lot of ex-players, a lot of Ferguson's team talks were just go and win the game. You players are better than the players that you're playing against. Just go and win the game. Now it's a bit more technical with a lot of the science that's come into football. It's kind of edging towards more of a tactical performance rather than just 11v11. So no, for me personally, it is just about just getting the win. And as you were saying there, I think the outrage on social media has really brought this on, that it has to be the perfect performance and you have to have the best players and the best everything. Can you imagine the outrage back when we sold Van Nistelrooy for Zaha to suit the team better? It would just be chaos. So no, it's not all about the performance. Get the 3 points. If we win the league with every game being 1-0, a fan's going to care at the end of the season. Everyone will just be elated that we've won the league.
Yeah, no one looks back. When you look back in 20 years' time, you don't think about, what you were saying there. You think about the fact that the team who won the league, the team that have won the trophies, have won the trophies. Oliver, let me come over to you. Which side of the fence do you sit on here?
Well, I have to totally agree with Connor, to be honest with you. You win leagues by winning ugly, as we said. If you could beat, 10 teams in a row, 2-1, 1-0, it's your 3 points at the end of the day. And I think teams like Liverpool have slightly skewed that. If you're beating someone by a goal in 90 minutes and you start being a bit more, daring and pull off some nice step overs and whatever, it's beautiful to watch. But from a fan's view, once that 90 minutes is finished, over the course of the season, the greater good is getting the points. And I think, them blowing teams away 5-6-0 week in, week out has just sort of skewed that view that that's how you can play every week. Any team you look back at that's won the Premier League, aside from maybe last season, has always, ground out 1-0 wins, important draws against, someone that's right behind them. That's over a course of a season. That's a champion's mentality. And I think it's more of a sort of flamboyance to want to play that way every week or think that it's possible. So for me, yeah, definitely 3 points all day.
I love this comment here by Trigger Kim, who says, always keep saying system wins you league/cups, but talent wins you games. I agree with that. And I also think people forget that actually you've got to win before you can sometimes implement a proper system. I think it's really difficult. For instance, Pep City plays different now to Pep City when he first joined. Klopp's Liverpool, although it's sort of the same identity in terms of the way that Klopp plays, that season before, they actually won the Champions League first, didn't they? It was a Champions League and then the league. They won the Champions League. They played completely differently to then the season that they went on to win the league. Like, it was a very different team. It was a very different way of playing. Even if we go back in the history books, the years before Sir Alex won trophies, he didn't properly implement maybe that system until the young lads came in, and he started blooding the youth, and he started getting more consistency out the side. I think that people are very short-sighted, and for some reason people want to see a system and start a play before we've actually won everything. Well, you're not going to ever get the players to complement a system if you don't start winning the trophies and start winning games in the first place. Mike, let me come over to you for you. Let's ask it from this point of view. What's progress for you? Us finishing fourth again and maybe not winning a trophy, but adopting some sort of style of play where we've consistently for over the period of now between the end of the season looked like a team that actually has, I don't know, the word that keeps being used is structure, or maybe finishing second and winning a trophy. What's progress?
Progress is consistency, really. We haven't had consistency for a little while. I am of the opinion, I think Abdel touched on it as well, that personnel is really important for us. I think the best teams we've had, the best squads we've had, the best teams and squads in history tend to be the ones with the best characters in the team. And I think recruitment has been the biggest frustration for most United fans over the last few years. So I think if we can get recruitment right, to get the personnel right, everything else will click. So yeah, results are results. I think if a win happens like it happened the other day, I really couldn't care less. I'd rather us just get 3 points on the board. It's the intent that's there for me. We had incremental improvements for the last few games, which is all you want to see as a fan. You want to see us get better each game, and we have been seeing that. I think we're creating chances, which again is encouraging for fans to see. We're not blowing teams away at the minute, but I think we're on the cusp of becoming quite a formidable team once we get those pieces in place. The recruitment we've done this summer has actually been pretty decent. We're yet to see a couple of players in the first team yet, which is, still a bit unknown for us, but the ones we have seen, I think, are going to improve us. And again, it's that thread of is needing to see improvement as fans for us to know how we're doing. And I think we did see that slightly yesterday. The frustration is we could have done so much better, but the improvement is there. And for me, a win with an improvement in the team is a great result.
Alex Vaz, Man United Analytics says, good conversation as fans are frustrated with lack of consistency. However, it's difficult when players are out of form personally and carrying knocks like Rashford. Again, spot on. And I think that's what it's a problem every team's having at the start of this season.
Yeah,
it's mind-boggling how, we come to United and for some reason the expectations are completely different to any other club right now who potentially have better squads than us too. Jamie, your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I think partly down to the whole argument of the style of play and stuff is the social media culture, and I know we're all sort of involved with it, but everybody wants the perfect performance. And I don't know, I can speak about myself. I've played football at a pretty decent level. You don't always get it, but if you're lifting trophies at the end of the season, you don't care, do you? But it's like I say, it's all down to sort of social media. And when I think someone touched on it earlier, maybe Connor, you're not going to look back in years' times and see that we beat West Brom 1-0 and sort of be sitting there with your dad saying, oh, yeah, I remember that game. You're not going to think, oh, yeah, I remember Henry tweeting that it wasn't the best performance, but even though we won. Do you know what I mean? Like, if Henry's in the in the comments, I don't mean it aimed at you, Henry. But it's one of them. It's a social media culture that people are sort of jumping on. Oh, yeah, it sounds a little bit stupid, but I always sort of see a football game based off of, and this is going to be completely off context here, but I'm a big boxing fan, and I always feel like boxing's sort of the same as football with regards to you've got two individuals, and obviously you've got two teams for a football game, two individuals, you've got to try and work each other out. And sometimes big fights don't live up to the expectations. It's the same with big games because you try and shut each other out sometimes, like the Chelsea game. But I think this whole social media culture of we need to win well. It doesn't exist in real football. And I sort of touching on what Mike said there, what you were asking Mike. I don't care if we win at 38 games, 1-0. If we're champions at the end of the season, it doesn't bother me. It's like, I'm not sort of, obviously being a Man United fan, you want to be entertained. You want to sort of see the team getting width and scoring 3 or 4 goals and looking great in the Stretford end up on its feet every 2 minutes because we're attacking, but it doesn't exist. And it's like the recruitment side of things as well is a question, is a massive issue. I know Abdul sort of went in detail, so I don't want to touch on it too much, but you've got to buy the right players to complement the other players in the team. And I think that's what Ferguson did. He always went into that market and bought that marquee player to maybe improve a player that maybe struggled before and thought his game will suit his game. But I think I can speak on behalf of everybody on the panel that we just want to see United win, don't we? I mean, I can't wait for the day that we can all sort of come on here and say we've won the league, and we can all. I'm sitting here with a water, but it'll be a bottle of champagne on my table if that's the case, you know. So you just got to be realistic with things. But this whole culture of you've got to win beautifully, it doesn't exist for me.
We'll come, by the way, to Kai and Abdel in just a second, guys. I just want to say, by the way, Jamie, Conor Ben was good last night, wasn't he? Anyway, let's move on. Reese, then we come over to you. Your thoughts on all this? You're muted, by the way, mate.
Not anymore. I'll keep it short and sweet for you. Results are important, but also entertainment is as well. But we're not in a state where entertainment is required. But at the end of the day, I would rather have the league than nothing. So that's the key for me, is like, if we win at all costs.
Yeah. No, they're nice and short and sweet, mate. It's almost like you don't want to talk.
No, it's not that. It's just I'm just trying to think what to say. So.
Yeah, everyone's covering it quite well, to be fair. And it's going, you know, I do sort of agree with everyone. I think it's really, really interesting to see that everyone, and Jamie, I couldn't agree more. 38 wins 1-0. As long as we win the league, I don't care. If we win every cup round 1-0, I don't care as long as we lift a trophy. I'm in football because I love winning. I'm passionate about watching my team win. But I think back and you know, to my greatest times as a football fan, and it's watching my team win trophies. It's watching my team come back from 3 goals down to win 4-3 and go mental. It's watching Man United against Brighton win because of that VAR decision in the last second of the game. Like, I love that moment. I live and breathe to win football matches as a football fan. So after a game, whether we've played immaculate football or not, I just don't care personally. I get it's an entertainment game and it's an entertainment business, but I don't look, as I said earlier on, at a group of players on a team sheet and go. And maybe this is because my football IQ isn't there. I don't know. Again, whatever. I don't look at a team sheet and go, oh, I wonder how these guys are going to perform today. I wonder how we're going to pull this out of the bag. I wonder what formation we're playing. I look at that team and go, come on, lads, let's win this game. Come on, United. An hour up to kick-off, I'm bricking it. And then as soon as we kick off, I'm having a mini party. That's just me. Like, that's where I'm at. Connor, did you want to say something?
I think we're all just excited. Yeah, I think we're all just excited that Man United are playing as well. Do you remember how bad it was from March to August time when there was no football at all? I mean, I'm pretty sure we're all just obviously, of course, we want to see them win every game, but I'd rather that United are on all the time than not at all.
I wish they could play 7 days a week, man.
Yeah, me too. We're closing into an hour and a half, guys. So I want to quickly go to Kai and Abdel one more time. Kai, what did you want to say, mate? Where's your finishing point on all this?
Well, I'll just be really quick. Firstly, I'd just like to say, in terms of like the style of play and in terms of like tactics and all of that, a lot of people also miss the fact that just telling your striker to go stand in David De Gea's view and push him about a bit is already something that's a tactic that you can already point to as a tactic. It doesn't always have to be super intricate and it has to be super like this and this guy needs to make that movement. But anything you say to your players that they have to follow, as you know, throughout the game, can be seen as part of a tactic or something like that. And also I want to say, well, there's also many ways of playing football. That's why we love football. That's why it's a beautiful game. There's just so many ways of playing it. And also, I mean, United and United's history is probably the epitome of play decently or play badly and still win the game anyways. It's literally what we did. It's literally what Fergie time represented a lot of the times, where the game just didn't go how we expected to. We just didn't play well, and because of that quality and the fact that we were we were so relentless, and the other team mentally they succumbed at the end of the game. I think that was also then part of it. So it's not always like we had, great performances. I mean, even the long run with Rio and Vidic at centre back, a lot of those games we won 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 2-1, 1-0, 1-0. So, and it was literally based on really good, solid defensive performances in a lot of those games as well. So I think we should just be right now happy with the wins, expect great performances, but also temper ourselves in the performance. Look at the game again. We don't have to be reactionary. And like Abdel says, and Ben, I have to agree, Abdel is great to listen to, because I've never heard a more composed man about football generally. It's too much composure. Can you play number 9?
Don't, mate, you'll make his head grow.
I'll stop. But yeah, I mean, so I think we just need to temper ourselves and look at the game a little bit more holistically as to what actually happened and what were the reasons why certain decisions were made by certain players and certain movements and all of that. So yeah, that's basically what I think of that one.
He's like the Eric Cantona of these streams, isn't he, Abdo? He's like the Eric Cantona. I'm just in awe every time he's talking.
Yeah, just less flair. Just less flair. Go on, Abdel, without fly kicking us.
I'm going to do a United job after this.
Yeah, go for it, man. Go on, talk to us.
I was just going to say that I actually opened up that style play part because it's very huge and there's so many different styles that we could talk about. But what I wanted to say is that people actually don't know what the style of play is. They pick up some random phrases, let's say, that the media, spats out all the time, and then they repeat it, like tiki taka, like, oh, they're pressing all the time. That's their style. That's not a style. That's a method. They're a long ball team. Yeah, that one is correct. There is a term called long ball football. But when you talk to me about importance of performance and style, at the end of the day, it's the result that matters. Do you remember how United played in '99 and won Bayern Munich in the one victory at the treble? You do not want to remember that. Yeah, the most important thing we won. All right, so that's what's written in history, and also people confuse style of play with structured play. So like a team, like for example, they compare us to teams like, I don't know, Sheffield United or Southampton, for example, and they say that, oh, look at the manager, he got his team working, like a solid unit. Yeah, because they're low quality and he knows it. So he has to give them like step-by-step instructions and movement, because he knows they can produce moments of magic like a Martial, like a Pogba, like a Jadon Sancho or a Rashford. They have to be meticulous in everything. But with big teams, they tell their attackers, you do your thing in the final third. This is the framework. This is the area that you're supposed to be playing in. I want you to show your talent, showcase your talent. And it goes back to what Jamie said before. Sir Alex Ferguson, most of his speeches was like, go out and do your thing. You're better than me, So there is style to play, there is structure to play, and there is mentality, and people need to differentiate between all of them. But what's the most important one of them? If you put me down and ask me what's the most important one of them, it's mentality of the players. Do they want to win or not? That's everything.
Abdel, I'd love to see you play Football Manager, mate. It'd be fascinating.
Thank you.
Can you give me some tips? Saying that though, Football Manager is so easy on the mobile phone that you can become the best manager in the world within a second. So I think it's actually, it's one of those games. Anyway, look, I'm going to end it there because that was a fantastic debate, guys. That was brilliant. Look, make sure you guys hit subscribe, hit that like button. Connor, Oliver, Mike, Abdel, Jamie, Reese, Kai, all fantastic tonight. Thank you guys for coming on. As I said, subscribe, like, go and check out our Istanbul Bishakir preview. That's on the channel now with me and Joe, and we are out of here in a bit, guys. Speak to you soon.
Take it easy.